Welcome to Knicksfandom. This is an independent New York Knicks fan-based podcast, which was created by fans for fans. The show is hosted by Blackwell, Danny, and Flau. They'll discuss the issues surrounding the Knicks, the NBA, and various other sports-related topics. Join us. It's going to be a heck of a ride.
Real sick, brawl nice. I perform like Mike. Anyone, Tyson, Jordan, Jackson, action. Woo, Knicksfandom. And we're back at episode 18, fellas. We here. 20 years since Biggie passed, man. What you think about that, D? Getting old, man.
I'm getting up there, man. I'm getting up there. LA, how you doing today, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How about you, Flo? How you doing?
I'm all right, LA. How you doing today, man?
I'm all right, man. We back, episode 18. I just want to give a few shout-outs before we officially start the show. You know, a big shout-out. Oh, before even that, rest in peace to Notorious B.I.G., man. 20 years, time definitely flies. That's one of the greatest ones. We miss him right there, you know. But, you know, try to change a little quick transition while we start our show. I want to give a quick shout-out to the Kimbe, a.k.a. Mount Matumbo, for showing Twitter love regarding our most recent episode. He makes sure to give our show a chance, people, and please spread the word. Also, if you're into hip-hop or just music in general, be sure to check out Hip Hop Now, a podcast by my friend Vegas. You will not be disappointed. He's very thorough and entertaining, and just like us, he's not a critic, he's a fan. As always, we have to bring you another thrilling episode of Knicksfandom. I'm your host, L.A. Blackwell, as always. I'm a little under the weather, people, so please bear with me. Hope that all y'all doing well out there, and we're going to get right into it. We're going to start with our regular Knicks Weekly Roundup. And since our last podcast, the Knicks went 1-3 in the previous games. Knicks total record now stands at 26-40, with a home record of 15-17, a road record of 11-23, and the playoffs started being 12th place. Before our recent podcast, the Knicks had a loss against the Warriors, 112-105. They also had an away game against the Magic, which they won 113-105. They had an away game against the Bucks, which they lost 104-93. And had a away game against the Pistons, which they lost 112-92. So, you know, seeing how the Knicks are right now at this point of the overall season, what are your main thoughts that stands out regarding the Knicks and overall play regarding the last games in our previous podcast? Starting with you, Flo.
Once again, LA, it seems like I'm repeating myself. This team is a terrible team. They stink overall, and they're still learning how to play the triangle. I think it's time for Phil Jackson to make a decision. Either you come down and resign as president of basketball operations and coach this team, or stop interfering in Coach Hornacek's business and practice by teaching the guards the triangle.
I hear you, Flo. Like you said, it's deja vu on here. Deja vu. Same thing that's been going on. Well, how about you, Danny D? Thank you, Flo. How about you, Danny D? What you think about the Knicks overall since our last podcast?
Like Flo said, they paying like doo-doo. And we know that. But the main factor that you guys I really want to talk about is, what do we do? Did we talk to Phil? We talked to Jeff Hornacek. And then I think now we need to stop having heavy minutes on Melo and Derrick Rose and let these young boys play. That means Ron Baker should be getting a start. Justin Holiday should be getting a start. Payson Randall should be getting a shot. Everybody should be getting a lot of minutes now, because it's pointless. You're going to ride at Melo, for what? If we're not going to play, we're not going to make the playoffs. What is the point of we playing for? Let these young guys get some burn so they can develop. Let them go in the summer league next year so we can start for next year.
Thank you, Dan D. Have to agree with both you fellas. Right now, I think playoffs is done. I think they don't really need to make the playoffs. They need to get that draft pick. It's not going to help you get in the playoffs. It's not a team with one win in the playoffs is really going to help you move forward as a franchise. And like you said, you really got to start seeing what pieces are going to stay, what pieces are going to go at this point. And not just about who fit in the triangle. I'm so tired of hearing that. Just get the best players you can get that fit the team, that could work together. That's the main thing. Forget the triangle. Like you said, Flo, if you want to coach it, then coach it, Phil. Get off the bench. Stop playing like you want to be GM and be out there and be a coach, and that just be it. Do like Pat Riley did. He did with the Heat for that year, and he came back off the bench, if that's what you really want to do. But, that's what you have to think about. Definitely got to look forward. We'll definitely have a draft episode 2 going forward as we get closer to that point. But anything stands out, fellas, regarding specifically, game-wise or player-wise, you want to talk about before getting into that more detail? Starting with you, Flo. These last games before the podcast, previous podcast.
Well, LA, in regards to the Orlando game, if you notice, they came back and won that game because they went with a young lineup in that fourth quarter. O'Quinn played that entire fourth quarter, even though he looked to get a DNP. Chance Randall played well in that entire fourth quarter. Matter of fact, he had no turnovers. He was a plus 25, where Derrick Rose was minus 27.
Yes.
The Knicks are just, they just need to get younger right now. Like Danny said, and I mentioned this in the previous podcast, it's time for you to start playing the youngsters. Start putting your veterans on the bench. You're playing for a top 10 draft pick. That's what you're playing for right now. Forget about the playoffs. Throw it out the window.
Very true. Thank you, Flo. How about you, Danny? Any games or any players specific-wise that stay in your mind before we get into future details?
Before the future details, let's talk about the win, like Flo said. Lance Thomas, your boy, had 17, but KP had 14, and Willie Herron-Gilman had 14, 8 rebounds, and O'Quinn played the 4. That's what you have to do. You have to let these young guys play. And in that fourth quarter, and Justin Holiday was in there with that starting five with Thomas and Courtney Lee, who had 20, Mr. Inconsistent. But you have to go with that to see that you can build on something for next year. And then that's the only thing. Let's build on something for next year. So we can't say the season was a total loss for me personally.
Okay, thank you, D. I agree. Lance Thompson, my guy, also didn't show up in the Golden State Warrior game. I like to bring that up. 27 minutes, 7 rebounds, 0 blocks, 0 points.
Hey, man. I can't do it every day now. I can't do it every day now. I can give you one. I can't get 2 games in a row, brother. And guys, like I'm getting $20 million a game,
And guys, you just knew Curry's going to go off for the Knicks. I mean, everybody who's not playing well or they just come back off injury always go off against the Knicks. He dropped 31. I mean, I knew he was going to go off in that game. But just looking at this game, things that stand out in particular to me overall, it's a lack of speed this team has, man. Defensive-wise, just looking at Porzingis when he was going against in the Detroit game with Harris, couldn't stay with him. He was out of position. Same thing with Melo when he went against Tony Snell. And what game was that? That was a game against the Bucks. Tony Snell had like 10 points, 7 rebounds. He was blowing past him, crossover. Melo can't play the 3 no more. Let's be honest with that. Unless it's a slower guy, a bigger guy, he need to be at the 4. And this is what the problem is to me right now with this team. Hernan Gomez is playing very well, basically, a lot of times. And he seems to play much better when Porzingis is out there. They played previously overseas together, so I understand that. But you're making a lot of people play out of position right now. Porzingis can't hold a power forward position to me either. To me, I think he need to be at the center. I think he should be at the center. Melo should be at the power. And Lance should be at the small 4 until you get somebody better. And Hernan Gomez is just going to be the odd man out to me right now. Because the speed-wise, there's too much Olay defense. The guy's playing out of position. And that's the main thing. It's not the offense all the time. It's the defense a lot of time. So what y'all think about that? Starting with you, Flo.
Yeah, I agree with you in terms of Carmelo playing the 4. Yeah, he can't play the 3 no more. He doesn't have the foot speed at all. In regards to Porzingis, I'm thinking about putting Porzingis off the bench, to be honest with you, because he plays well with the bench unit, especially in the second quarter of games.
I hear you, but I mean, if we really going to build this franchise around him, we can't have him on the bench, though. That's what I'm thinking. Is this going to be the guy really going to push this team to the next level, then? Or do you have to think about maybe moving him? Because you can't have your star be on the bench. You know what I'm saying? You can't have a Giannis on the bench. You can't have LeBron or anybody or KD come off the bench. I mean, in certain key points, I get that. And matchups, that's understandable, but he got to play majority of those minutes. What you think about that, Danny D? Thank you, Flo.
Yeah, I agree. But then the same thing, you remember when Carmelo did slide to the 4, that's when we were actually winning games. Remember, Noah got hurt. So it was like, all right, boom, put KP at center, slide Melo down to the 4. And then at that time, we had Justin Holiday. Justin Holiday was starting. And we were racking up wins, even though we still wasn't playing defense. You remember the scores were like 105. We were winning 105, 106, 107. But yeah, but we need KP if you're going to have the face of the franchise, which you know that's what they're trying to do, ultimately trying to do, have KP as the face of the franchise. Yeah, but then he has to be consistent, also stay healthy.
Exactly. And he got to gain some weight to play that position. He got to put on at least 10, 15 pounds to play that position, gives the big boys up in there. But to me, that's the lineup I think you got to go with for the rest of this season, see what it looks like. Porzingis, Melo, Lance Thomas, Courtney Lee, and Derrick Rose. And then have Hernan Gomez, O'Quinn, Kaminsky. He ain't even getting much playing time no more, it seems like to me. And Justin Holiday and Jason Randall. And have them as the point guard and just have, Baker as the instant off the bench. That's what I do as in like the 11th position at this point, because you have to see, like I said, who's going to fit this team right now. And it's just too much in and out. I don't know what's happened to O'Quinn. I don't know. It's like some days he played 10 minutes, some days he played none. So on this side, got to figure that out as well. But anything else stand out regarding the Knicks Weekly Roundup, fellas? I mean, did you want to talk about Flo? Starting with you, anything else you want overall?
No.
Okay. How about you, Dandy? Anything else you would like to talk about, future-wise? Or
The only thing I want to add is to the Warriors game. They said the Warriors, right, should have got a loss because they only beat the Knicks 112 to 105. They consider that a loss. Some people consider that a loss by the Warriors because they only won 112 to 105. I'm just saying that's very disrespectful. I feel some type of way about that.
Nah, that is disrespectful. And this is what happened, This is when the Knicks are down at dunks. Everybody going to kick you when they're down, kick dirt in your face. What do you think about that, Flo?
Listen, it's been a bad year for the Knicks. And I think what we should address, the lack of no music being played in the first half in that Golden State Warriors game. That was uncalled for whatsoever.
What you mean by uncalled for?
When you're coming into an NBA game, you expect to hear a little bit of music. Sound, some type of defense, or some type of music being played. There was no music being played. All you heard was a footwork of players moving around, basketball, dribbling, squeaking. This is an NBA game. People are paying for the NBA experience.
I understand, but that was supposed to be a throwback edition. Kind of be like how it used to be back in the day, with more just hearing the tweak of the sound, making not so much of the ambiance, you want to get it down and a little more grittier and just make you focus really on the game. That's what the whole purpose behind it for the first half. I mean, some people I read online liked it. They was like, it was good not to have to be distracted by the loud sounds or music all the time and actually really focus on the game. It made you feel like you was more in the stadium. A few people like yourself really didn't like it. Some people was like, how do I know when to yell defense if I don't hear it? So, Fe's a fan with that type of thing. It's a change up. I'm not that much of a fan of it. Something new I never heard in the NBA telecast. So, I take it for what it was. What about you, Danny? What you thought about that?
Listen, don't do no changes. If I'm going to the game, damn it, I want to hear something. I entertain me. Now tickets cost to go to the Garden. Oh, you gonna entertain me? I want everything. Defense. I want blowhorns, and I want the music. And I want to lean back. I want to do everything if I'm paying those tickets to go watch that game. And plus, it was the Warriors. You see how much the tickets must have cost? Oh no, you gonna play some music. You gonna do something. Ain't no silence on my half. You gonna play something tonight.
Oh man, I hear you. I don't think you're gonna see that happen too often though. I really don't. But it's just a change of pace. But thank you, fellas. I appreciate that. Go ahead, Flo.
LA, but you have to keep in mind the way the Knicks been playing all season. They need any type of distraction. The more music at the Garden, the better. They stink all year.
Oh man, it's tough being a Knicks fan. People out there, it's tough. But we here for you, and I hear you, Flo. Thank you, fellas. And that concludes our assessment for our weekly Knicks Roundup. Thank you, guys. And we're just going to jump into our next segment right now, which is our tip-off segment. As usual, this is a short segment where we each usually pick one personal topic that we have been thinking about and would like to discuss in a group format. Topic may pertain to any type of NBA or sports-related topic that we find interesting, and in turn, hopefully, you, the listener, will also find interesting. To start us off this week, Nanny D, you got anything to discuss regarding our tip-off segment?
Yes, guys, I do. All right, we have the Portland Trailblazers. We have Ezekiel Festus, right? He got traded from Golden State and he went to Portland. And remember, guys, as soon as he signed the deal, he got injured, all right? And then he needed surgery. So, a couple months go by and things like that. He didn't have surgery. It comes to find out he's been waiting for a cadaver donor to fit his 6'11" frame for him to have surgery. So basically, he's getting a cadaver donor. I don't know if he's getting an ACL, MCL to fit his frame and he's going to have surgery. First, ESPN put it up there as he was the first NBA player to ever have this procedure done. Now they had to take it off the ESPN. I think Bouchard put it up there, so he had to restate it and said he wasn't the first NBA player to have it done. But they said in sports, the only other person that they know that had this procedure done, quote unquote, I don't want was Carson Palmer, who's a quarterback. He had his ACL and his MCL torn. He got another ligament for a woman who was killed in a drunken driver accident, and got that. And after rehabilitation, he was back on the field after 5 months. So how you guys feel about that one? All my conspiracy theorists out there, just want to put that out there for you guys.
But what do you mean? How we feel about?
But how y'all feel about that? Y'all you're not getting surgery. Y'all getting ligaments and other parts from cadaver donors to speed up the process. You can get back on the field or the basketball court. This is facts, guys. This is not me making this up. This is really happening.
Mm-hmm. So you feel like it should be illegal, or is an unfair advantage?
No, this is how you feel. It's not advantage. It's how you feel. You think you should get it from a cadaver donor, or you think you just go through the process and things like that? How do you feel about that?
It's interesting. I've heard something like this happening before, but I don't think it's nothing really. It's more just I think it's a personal or a doctor idea behind it. Like you think is maybe some people might feel ethical on some level, but I feel like if he's trying to get back on the court, and if everyone agree upon the procedure and the NBA knows about it, then I don't think it's that bad a thing to try to get you back on the court and everything of that nature. Because a lot of these parts, it's not like just laying out there. You could just get this thing fixed like that. So it's a lot of money out there. You know what I'm saying? These guys are trying to fulfill their contracts. They're trying to make sure they get back on their court a lot of ways, any way possible, a lot of within means, legality wise and things of that nature. I don't have that much of an issue with it overall. How about you, Flo?
This cadaver is it necessary for him to get back on the court quicker, or can he just what is the proper procedure when it's a torn ligament? They can't just
exactly. That's exactly what I don't want to know, Flo, because they didn't get into detail. They just say he's getting it from a cadaver donor. That's exactly my point. Because if that was the case, then everybody be getting. You understand what I'm saying, Flo and L? Like if that, exactly. Robert Griffin get hurt, something like that. All of a sudden, you're waiting for the surgery to get a cadaver donor. Why a cadaver donor? Why just go through a regular process? I just want to know.
Exactly.
Damn it so much that he had to do that. That's what I'm guessing. Oh. Since it's something doesn't happen on a regular basis. I had to know more detail about it though.
Yeah, they didn't give no detail. All I know was on ESPN. They had to recant and restate. They had to take it back.
Very interesting with that. What do you think about overall, D? Since you brought up the topic,
it's very interesting because that's the same thing. Because I was like, a lot of people go through. A lot of people go through injuries, and I was like, all right. So why is it taking him so long to get back on the court? There's we got to find something 6'11" frame and things like that. I was like, oh, okay. So all of a sudden you found a cadaver that's 6'11" and fits your frame. Interesting. Make you think, make you think. Things that make you say, Things that make
Very true. Thank you for that tip-off topic, Danny D. Appreciate it. How about you, Flo? You got anything for tip-off to discuss today?
LA, I do. According to the Arizona Republic, the Phoenix Suns head coach, Earl Watson, has benched starting center Tyson Chandler and combo guard Brandon Knight. And his comment was the reason he's benched these players is because until management tells him to play them, he's going to keep benching them. He said that we're going with a youth movement. Both players haven't played since after the All-Star break. Guys, I want to know what's your take on this.
That's interesting. I didn't hear about that one. Just about that, Danny D. Thank you, Flo.
Brandon Knight's not old. Bring him to the Knicks. I'll take Brandon Knight if you don't want to play him.
Thank you.
That's Brandon Knight's not old. And the thing is like that. Who's the starting center? Because Tyson Chandler still gets rebounds and things like that. I think if Earl Watson wants to do it like that, I understand he's the head coach and stuff like that. As long as it's not personal reason, as long as it's nothing personal. If he's not having no headway going back and forth like that, and it doesn't make the team better. If it doesn't make the team better, let's play him because it makes no sense to do that. Because Brandon Knight's not old.
Okay, I agree. for the most part. I mean, it's hard to tell because you're on the outside looking in, as always with these type of situations. But, both of them are veteran players, and I think they're both still productive. If anything, they probably might file a grievance if they could, but they're going to be moved after the offseason, I would think. What do you think about this overall flow that you brought up?
Well, that's the problem, LA. Both of these players should have been moved during the trade deadline, and they weren't. That's where the issue is. Since they're currently on this team, and right now Phoenix is currently 22-44, they know they're not making the playoffs. So I guess Earl Watson was like, you know what, screw it. I'm going to just play all the young guys. But Danny brought an interesting point. Brandon Knight is real young, so he should be playing. He should be part of a three-guard lineup with
Eric
Bledsoe, and with their star franchise player, Devin Booker.
Yeah.
But not to cut you off, though, and then how are you going to say, if that's the case, see, then it comes like him being a hypocrite because you're going to play Eric Bledsoe in the start. This guy has multiple injuries over Brandon Knight, who doesn't have that many injuries. All right.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm thinking more about it now, looking at their team. None of these guys are really a free agent after this year either. Like Brevin Knight, I believe, got like at least 3 more years on his contract, and I think Chandler got at least 2. So I'm like, you're not only hurting your team player-wise and standings-wise, you're also hurting the team trade value-wise. If they're not playing, you can't trade them. Nobody's going to really want them the same value if they think they damage goods at some level. And, I mean, Alex Lynn, that's the guy that's only the guy I know they got for center. You pushing him up there, I don't think his numbers are that great. That is that much better than Tyson Chandler to me right now. I don't know. That's a weird move to make if I'm a Watson. I wouldn't have did it. The last time I went on Chandler play against the Knicks, he was crushing them that game. So I don't quite understand it. But, we'll see where that goes. Definitely more than meets the eye with that type of topic. But thank you, Flau.
LA, let me correct you.
Flau.
Let me correct you. You said Brevin Knight. You meant to say Brandon Knight.
Exactly, Brandon Knight. Thank you. Appreciate that. But, okay. Thank you for that topic, Flau, or that tip-off topic. Appreciate it. And for myself, I got a little, somewhat controversial topic overall, but it shouldn't be too much. I saw an article in the Ebony magazine the other day that I wanted to talk about something specifically. And regarding the topic, the article was by Morgan Campbell titled "Uneven Playing Field," and basically it was regarding how should I say the rule in particular for the NCAA and the players, mostly in particular basketball players within that division. And sports historian Lewis Moore pointed out that the NCAA sports generating less revenue sometimes have looser rules govern amateurism. Although football and basketball players forfeit their NCAA eligibility by entering the draft, baseball players can be drafted after high school or during college, remaining eligible for college ball unless they hire an agent or sign with a pro ball club. Now, this was a topic that was brought up within the article that I always had a little issue with. And I just want to think what your guys' opinion was on it overall. Do you think it's fair that for the basketball players, if you sign an agent, you basically forfeit all your eligibility and you can't go back into the draft or anything and they show back to school? But yet in baseball, you can do that and you don't have to face that same type of consequence. So overall, I just want to see, what do you guys think about that? Starting with you, Danny D.
You know what it is? I think I can see where they're coming from half and half because the NBA is more, to me, they're saying that the NBA is more lucrative. There's more money involved as compared to baseball. And in baseball, they have a better farm system. You understand? First of all, it's not fair. No, it's not fair. Because I think if you get an agent, things like, and it doesn't work out, I think you should be allowed to go back to school. But then with baseball, you have so many teams and so many farm systems. So if things don't work out, you still can get drafted. You can develop in the major league, the AA, AAA, quadruple A, and go ahead and become a major star in the MLB, as opposed to the NBA. It's either you do that, don't get drafted, you go overseas, or you go back to school, or you just become a person like a Lenny Cooker somehow, and you mess up your career. But I don't think it's fair though. But I can see where they're coming from with comparing the basketball, which is more lucrative, more money generated compared to baseball.
Okay, thank you, Danny D. Appreciate that. How about you, Flo? What you think about this?
This is definitely unfair by the NCAA. You got to look at it. You know how much billions the NCAA is making off of these young players? That if they even get caught with money, that pretty much that university will definitely use scholarships. Let's go back. to the Final Four year with Chris Webber and the Fab Five. They had a forfeit. The banner had to be removed. They had a forfeit that entire season when they made it to the Final Four. It's actually erased from the record books. So that is unfair whatsoever. Very, very unfair. These guys have every right to sign with an agent. If there's no, if they can't get drafted, then they should be allowed to go back to school and finish and further in education and continue to play another season of college basketball.
Thank you, Flo. Really appreciate that. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, fellas. I thought it was an important topic to bring up. And it's something that has been unfair. And just talking about some of the dollar figures you talking about, Flo. Just talked about in the article. Check this out for a minute. Meanwhile, the dollar figures, according to the article, shows that the two sports keep climbing. Turner Sports and CBS are paying the NCAA $10.8 billion over 14 years to broadcast March Madness. And when that deal expires, a new 8-year contract begins, paying the NCAA an average of $1.1 billion annually. Meanwhile, ESPN's 12-year deal to carry the football bowl championship series is worth $5.6 billion. Also, under those arrangements, coaches cash in. 5 college basketball coaches earn more than $4 million salary just this season. So just think about that. You had last season, some guys were talking about they didn't even have money to even have food, and you don't want to pay the players. You gave them a little stipend so far this year. And you're also not just funding the school and the coaches, you're funding a whole bunch of other sports out there that's not even making any money, like the golf or other track and field, not track and field, but other sports that people don't really come to see. You're funding that for the school as well. But yet the players are not benefiting for that. And you're also hurting players who are most susceptible to being hurt. Because a lot of these players come from impoverished, poverty-stricken areas, and yet you're making a ton of money off of them, and you're not getting really anything in return on their side. But yet let other players do the same thing in different sports. So I think it's very unfair with that when you look at it from that comparison. Especially you're going to call it amateurism type of thing. So just a point I wanted to bring up. I appreciate it. Y'all both gave in-depth, thoughts behind it. Hope the listeners enjoyed that as well. And that's the end of our tip-off segment. Okay, listeners, as we close out our show, this is our closing remarks. How about you, Dan? Do you got any closing remarks for the end of our show?
Just want to thank the listeners and everybody who subscribes. Big shout out for Dikembe Mutombo. Much love. Appreciate it, brother. And just keep on listening, guys. A change is coming soon, hopefully.
Hopefully. Thank you, Daddy D. How about you, Flo? Any closing remarks for today's show?
Yes, LA. I want to say first, I want to thank all the listeners. Please tell a friend, subscribe. Also, I want to give a birthday shout out to my cousin who's a big fan of the show. Happy birthday, Leslie. Birthday is tomorrow. Much love and respect. We've been through a lot. Appreciate it. I'm very proud to be your cousin. Please, I appreciate it. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I'm happy to be part of this great show, man.
That's right. Thank you, Flo. Big shout out to Leslie. Appreciate it. Happy birthday, brother. Always glad I want our listeners out there to give them thanks. Hope everything goes on well. And my closing remarks for the show. Hope everyone enjoyed the show. Thanks again to my co-hosts as always. Couldn't do it without y'all. Thanks to the listeners. Keep subscribing. Please letting people know. Big shout out again to Dikembe Mutombo. Definitely preach the Twitter love. Keep listening to the shows, fellas. Keep writing, reviewing, and letting everybody know about it. Have a good week, everyone. Take care. See ya.